mean by converting measurement units is we'll be working with ratios. We did this already in the beginning of the year. Remember that a ratio is similar to a fraction. It looks like a fraction, but it's not. A fraction is a piece of a number, while a ratio is two separate numbers being compared. You might remember from chapter 1, lesson 2 on page 20, where we have the definition of a ratio. A ratio is a comparison of two quantities by division. A ratio of 2 red paper clips to 6 blue paper clips can be written in 3 ways. So we have 2 to 6. For every 2 paper clips I have, I'm going to have 6 blues. Or 2 to 6, or 2 over 6. Okay, so don't forget that we always write this as a fraction, but it's really not a fraction. It looks like a fraction, but this is a comparison of two numbers. Okay, we could say that, and when we write it, we can write it y over x. Okay, so we can say that 2 equals y and 6 equals x, and we have y over x, rise over run. Okay, this is going to come in handy soon. Let's say we had to simplify this, and for every 2 red paper clips, I have 6 blue paper clips. If you had to simplify, you could just simply say that, okay, that means that for every 1 red, I must have how many blues? Well, if you said 3, you are correct, because all you did was just cut it in half and cut this in half. The ratios are going to move proportionally. Don't forget that. Now that we did that review, I think we're ready for the real-world connection here. Animals. The table shows the approximate weights in tons of several large land animals. 1 ton is equivalent to 2,000 pounds. That is a ratio right there, boys and girls. 1 ton is a type of number. This is 1 unit of measurement, right? Is the same, is equivalent to 2,000 pounds. So I can write that as 1 is 2,000, right? These are both separate units. 1 ton is 2,000. And here on the right we have the weight. So a grizzly bear is 1 ton, so 2,000 pounds. White rhinoceros is 4 tons. Hippopotamus 5 tons, and the African elephant, which I believe is the largest land animal, is 8 tons. Okay, so now that we know the ratio 1 ton is 2,000, how much is it for 4 tons? Well, let's complete this table here. So we have 1 ton is 2,000 pounds. 4 tons is 8,000. So for every 1, it's going to be 2. So what's 5? What's 8? Well, if every 1 is 2,000, here I have 5 of them, and each one of them is 2,000. So I just count by 2,000 5 times. 2,000, 4,000, 6,000, 8,000, 10,000. And there we go. We get 10,000. So then what's 8? Remember that each one is 2,000. So what's 8 times 2? 8 times 2,000. If you're saying 16,000, you are correct. Okay, continuing on. Please write this as a key answer. I want you to write y over x, which is rise over run. On page 289, we're going to work with converting larger units to smaller units. For example, here we have the table of larger units of measurement, and here we have them converted to smaller units of measurement. Now, don't feel overwhelmed by this. You don't have to memorize any of this. It's just so that you see how it works. For example, each relationship in the table can be written as a ratio. For example, you know that 1 yard is 3 feet. Most of you know this already, that 1 yard has 3 feet, and each foot is 12 inches, right? You know that. You can use the ratio 3 feet to 1 yard to convert from yards to feet. Okay? So if you ever want to convert yards to feet, you know that you take the top number, your number of feet, and you divide it by the number of yards, and that'll give you your yards to feet conversion. Okay, let's see. Here we have the length. We have 1 foot equals 12 inches, 1 yard, 3 feet, 1 mile is 5,280 feet. Okay, this is clearly the standard unit of measurements. This is not our metric system. Okay, like a unit ratio is one in which the denominator is 1. So the ratio is 3 to 1 is a unit ratio. So it's like the unit rate. Dimensional analysis is the process of including units of measurement as factors when you compute. So you have to include the units of measurements when you compute because they are different. This is feet and this is yards. As we work through the lesson, you will need to look back at this customary conversion table so that you know how to convert, okay? For example, for the first example, we have to convert yards. You see here, yards to feet. We have to convert ton to pounds. And we have here quarts to pints, okay? So you'll need to see, you'll need to use this table as reference, okay? For example 1, you're going to see how they converted 20 feet to inches. Okay, we know that each foot has 12 inches. So since each foot has 12 inches, the ratio is going to be 12 inches for every 1 foot. But we want to multiply this times 20 because we're saying there are 20 of them. Okay, so we have 20 times 12 over 1. You see that? The feet, they cancel each other out, and now we just have 20 times 12 equals 240 inches. So 20 feet in inches is 20 times 12 because each foot has 12 inches. Do you see that? So 240 inches. So for the first question or example right here at the top, we have right here over here, okay, we have yards to feet, and don't forget on our page that we have yards to feet. Every yard has 3 feet. So we have 36 right here. We have 36 yards, and for each one of these there are 3 of these. So what do we have to do? You could simply just take your 36 and multiply times 3. Okay? If that makes sense to you. Because each one of these, each yard has 3 feet. So that would give you 108, right? 108 what? 108 feet, right? Because we're trying to find out yards to feet. So 108 feet. But let's do it the way they did it on the example, where we have 36 feet, right? And we want to multiply it by, we have to solve the ratio. We know that there are 3 feet, right? There are 3 feet in each yard, right? In each yard. I'm sorry, I wrote this one wrong up here. This should not be feet, this should be yard. 36 yards, right? So we have 36 yards, and we know that each yard has 3 feet. Well, remember that these two cancel each other out. This yard cancels this yard out. Okay, this whole thing cancels it out. And now what I have is 36 times 3. And 36 times 3 equals 108 feet. Next we have 3/4 of a ton. 3/4 of a ton is how many pounds? We know that a ton, right here, okay, a ton, is 2,000 pounds, right? So this is not quite 1 ton, it's only 3/4 of this, so we're looking for 3/4 of this amount. Many of you already know that 3/4 of 2,000 is 1,500, right? 3 parts of 4 parts of 2,000 is 1,500. You already know that, but let's see how do we solve this by actually following the steps. So we have 3/4 ton, okay, times, this is a T for ton, not a plus sign, okay, times, we know that it's 2,000 pounds, pounds per ton, right, for 1 ton. Again, the tons cancel each other out because we do cross-referencing, okay, they cancel each other out, and now we multiply directly across, and now I have 3/4 times 2,000 over 1. And we have, you guys remember how to multiply across? We have 3. Actually, we can do a little cross-referencing if you wanted to, where you know that here you have a 4, and this is a divisible by 4, so here you have 1, and here you have 500. You divide both by 4, right? And now 3 times 500 is 1,500, as I mentioned, okay, over 1, right? So you have 1,500 pounds, or you can write LBS for libras. And finally, quarts to pints. We know that 1 quart has 2 pints. So 1 quart is 2 pints. Don't forget. So every one of these is 2 of these. So what I can just simply do is take 1.5 and multiply it times 2. Don't forget that when you're multiplying, you have to change this to an improper fraction. 2 times 1 is 2, plus 1 is 3. So we have 3 over 2 times 2 over 1. You cross-reference, okay, and those two cancel each other out to a 1, so then you just end up having 3. Okay, so 1.5 quarts is 3 pints. Okay, let's try the word problem on page 291, example 2. Jen runs 1/8 of a mile before tennis practice. 1/8 of a mile, so not that much. It's a short run. How many feet does she run before practice? Okay, so we're looking for 1/8 of a mile in feet. So really, 1 mile is 5,280 feet, but we're looking for 1/8 of this. 1/8. 1/8 of 5,280. Okay, you can do this. Put it over 1, you cross-reference, see if this number is divisible by 8 or 4, and see it, look for common multiples, and then multiply straight across. When I cross-reference, I know that here's 1/8, and here I have 660 of them, of 8. I just divided this number by 8 to see what I had, and yeah, that's exactly what I got. So then, there's my answer. Because I have 1 times 600, 1 times 660, it's 660. And then 1 times 1 is 1, so we don't write it over 1. And there we have it, boys and girls. What do we have? We have feet. 1/8 of a mile, 1/8 of a mile is 660 feet. And that's how much she runs. Therefore, she runs 660 feet before practice. This is a key answer. Please write this down, and you can circle it as well right after you've written it down. Okay? Okay, on page 291 we have something that we really need to focus on. Convert smaller units to larger units. Remember that the ratios 1 yard over 3 feet and 3 feet to 1 yard are equivalent. These are the same. Okay? That for 1 yard you have 3 feet, or 3 feet you have 1 yard. To convert from smaller units to larger units, choose the ratio that allows you to divide out the common units. For example, you see it right here, where we're trying to convert from feet to yards. So if I'm going to convert from feet to yards, I must put the yards in the numerator and the feet in the denominator so that I can cross-reference the units. When I cross-reference the units, I also cross-reference the common multiple. For example, I have here 3, I can lower that to 1, and here I have 4, right? Because how many 3's do I have here? Only 1. And how many 3's do I have in 12? 4 of them. So now I just go ahead and multiply straight across. 4 times 1 equals 4 yards. So how many yards are in 12 feet? 4 yards. So look at example 3. You can say that on example 3, I'm going from quarts to gallons. So if I want to convert 15 quarts to gallons, the denominator will be my quarts. You see that? So I have 1 gallon has 4 quarts. Okay? So that when I multiply, I can cancel out the quarts, as you see right there. And now I'm just multiplying 15 times 1. Okay, so I'm sorry, 15 times 1/4. And you get 3.75 gallons. Or the mixed number will be 3 3/4 of a gallon. Okay, go ahead and try E, F, and G. Okay, give it a try. Let me do F so that you can see how it's done. And you try E and G. So let's remember that 16 ounces is 1 pound. So we're going from, we want to know how many 16 ounces are here. How many groups of 16 ounces are there? Because every 16 is 1 pound. So I would write it like this. 1 pound, that's LB, not 16, LB, over 16 ounces. So that I can cross-reference. I put the ounce in the bottom so I can cross-reference the ounces. So when I cross-reference the ounces, I can simplify and make that an 8 and this a 50. Right? Times 1. So now I'm looking for 1/8 of 50. I can cross-reference again and say that I can make this a 4 and this a 25. Yeah? And then I multiply straight across. 25 over 4. And how many 4s are in 25? Well, 4 times 6 is 24 plus 1 is 25. So it's 6 1/4 pounds. Please leave the guided practice for class, but do the independent practice on page 290.